Okay, again, that's our oil filter adapter right there. If I can do this right. It's got a chamfer on one side. That's what your check ball goes up against. Check ball right there goes up against a chamfer that faces in towards the case there. So let's go ahead and stick this in there. I've already cleaned it, and we're going to put red Loctite on the adapter here. Hopefully you can see around me. I'm trying to get that tire beaded up on the back of this bike so I can get it on the lift and get the other one off there because I need it off the lift to do some stuff. Put a good amount of red Loctite on there. And I don't really know what the torque's supposed to be on this thing. I don't know that I've ever torqued one with a torque wrench. I've always done it like this and never had one come loose. So pretty much it's just good and tight. That's 7/8 deep well socket. That ought to be good right there. And that's our oil filter adapter. I haven't picked up any oil line yet. Need to do that either tonight or tomorrow during the day. And next step is I'm going to pull the oil tank off to run the oil lines, pull the battery box and the oil tank, mainly because I want to clean the oil tank out. So I'll pull it out of there and rinse it out really good with some diesel fuel or kerosene, followed by some parts cleaner like brake clean or lacquer thinner on the inside, and then hot soapy water. Lots of hot soapy water with Dawn dishwashing detergent in it. That works good. A long time ago, back in Ironhead days, they didn't have oil filters on Ironheads. It's just straight up into the tank. And you were supposed to pull that tank off once a year and clean it out because it didn't have an oil filter on them bikes. So every year during the wintertime, when you went to service it, you pull that stuff out of there, drain the oil out of the bottom end, drain the oil out of the primary, pull the oil tank off and wash it out with kerosene and in hot soapy water. And you swear it'd be clean in there, but it never is. Now these oiling systems, a lot of people think that the oil the way oil fills, this outer section here is what fills up with oil. And it gets blown through the filter through these holes here that are around the rim of the filter. And it goes from here through the center. Through the center is what feeds the engine. Need to pick up a damn oil filter too. So and some oil. We'll do that tomorrow. Or hopefully tomorrow. I don't know what my wife has planned, so we'll see. But that's it for that. Like I said, when you pull that out of there, if you got one that leaks down a lot, like in a short amount of time, it's probably a good idea to pull that out of there, pull that adapter out and check your little plastic ball there to see how it's seating. So unlike big twins, well, before twin cams, any Evos, those except for Sportsters, the Evo big twins filtered on the return side of the pump instead of the feed side. So anything that would oil in the oil tank would flow down straight to the oil pump through the motor. Then once it get returned, on the return side is where it will run up to the oil filter and get filtered on the return side. When they switched to them, I don't remember which one, they switched filters from the 5 to 10 micron, or 10 to 5 micron, whatever it was, I can't remember. But on the Evos, some bikes started having a problem where it was basically wet sumping while you're riding it, because it's a finer filter and it's on the return side. So it would kind of stop up oil would back up in the bottom end a little bit there, but not on every bike. On certain bikes, it would. Now, what I used to use on these for road racing, I use the Dyna filters, which come out to here. They're really long filters, and an oil cooler just to keep more oil flowing through the damn motor, because a lot of people want to argue about oil coolers don't work. But they do work. Anytime you have an external source for oil to go through, it tends to cool it off. Just by flowing it through air. And what's an oil cooler? It's a little oil radiator with air blowing across it while you're riding it. So you could say it doesn't work, but you know, if you can drop your oil temperatures down a little bit, you can. It's a good idea. I'm not putting one on here because it's damn. He don't ride it enough, or isn't going to ride it enough, because he's going to drag race this thing supposedly, and don't really need an oil cooler for that. Road use, yeah. So that's it for the oil filter adapter. We'll continue going on this thing. Let's see where we go. I'm doing the oil lines and pulling the oil tank off next. I was hoping to have it up on a lift to do that, but it doesn't really matter. I can't get that tire seat on that back rim. Need to take it someplace with a heavy duty compressor and blow it up, because my little compressor just ain't got enough to do it. But that's it for this. If you like my content, please like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever. Appreciate it. If you've subscribed, thank you. If you haven't, go ahead and hit that button, subscribe button, and notification, whatever. I took a break for at least a year doing this. Might have been 2 years, I can't remember. But we'll continue on. I'm debating on doing this bike this year the way it sits, pretty much. Put it back together and just let them get used to launching the thing without doing whatever, just to get used to riding it. And then I got a front end off a sport bike over there, and well, we'll see how he does. I've got a sport bike front end and a rear wheel off a sport bike, off of something I've had sitting around for probably 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, something like that, and haven't done anything with. And it's nothing, I ain't got a motor for it. It's nothing but a rolling chassis. It's forks, front end, brakes, rear wheel, frame, swing arm. That's it. And it's old. It's not even newer technology. Hell, it's still a conventional front end. Ain't got no adjustability to it. But we might swap out that front end, and we're only at like a 58-inch wheelbase now, the way it's at. We measured it the other day, which is fairly short. I got the front end slid down about more than an inch right there, probably an inch and a quarter, something like that, which would account for it being shorter wheelbase. But the idea was that you do the sport bike front end. I mean, we'll see how it rides this thing. If it's coming up on them, we'll have to lengthen the swing arm. And to fit in whatever class it is, if you do one of them class things instead of just bracket racing it, they has to be like a 68-inch wheel, no longer than a 68-inch wheelbase, and no lower than like 2 inches off the ground, 2 or 3 inches, something like that. But we'll see how that goes. That's a wintertime project. Right now, we're just trying to get it back together so he can make some runs this year. And then, if it's determined that he's still into it and wants to do it, I'll cut the swing arm and find out how much I can add. Right now, I could add basically 10 inches to it. But if I do that other front end, I need to put that other front end in and then measure the wheelbase the way it sits. And we can go from there and add, at least 10 inches the way it sits right now. With that other front end, it might be 12 inches out the back. I don't know. The triple trees up there, offset's a lot different with those other trees, so it potentially bring the axle back probably another at least inch, maybe 2 inches. Won't know till I get to that point, and we'll go from there. But as usual, I'm just running my mouth right now, so let's get out of here. Abused. I got to weld the frame up there at the front. It's got a little crack down here somewhere, right there. Had an engine guard on it, and the engine guard was burning up pretty damn good. So this frame's tweaked a little bit, or not the frame, this bracket right here is tweaked a little bit. And it's cracked on the edge, and that's like really thin plate steel where they tied together right there. Just hammer that out and weld it back together. And those back fender rails are slightly offset this side, so they're bent just a little bit. meaning that the fender was really closer on one side than the other because the whole ass end where the fender rails run out or tweaked. So we'll see. Have to fix it. Might just cut those off there. It depends on what we do. Right now we're just gonna. I'll probably try and bend them back. It isn't as easy. The 93 and earlier frames were just tubes back there, and you can straighten them things out easy. You just put a little heat to them, and they'd bend right back. These are those investment castings which came out in '94 for some of the frame stuff on Sportsters. They added this casting process for some of the frame members, and it's a lot harder to bend back. But that's it. Thank you. Guys, take care.